we're going to be having a very interesting conversation on how social entrepreneurs can grow their influence and resilience amidst uncertainty. Now, you might ask yourself why those two key metrics, influence and resilience. Influence because that's what you need for you to grow and to scale. Resilience because we are in a tough time right now. I think all economies are suffering. So we want our social entrepreneurs and our entrepreneurs generally to be resilient. And today we are going to be honing in and focusing in on this particular segment of our entrepreneurship ecosystem. My name is Gilbert Manirakiza from the Newmark Group. The Newmark Group is one of Africa's fastest growing strategic communications companies. We are based here in Nairobi, but we also have a deep footprint in over 30 African countries through our hubs here in Nairobi and in Ghana and Senegal. We are very happy to have you here. And now we are going to have a conversation with Mr. Social Entrepreneurship East Africa himself. This is a gentleman that I'm very proud to call a friend. I've seen how brilliant he is, how passionate he is about social entrepreneurship. And he's none other than Vincent Odhiambo. So just to say a couple of things about him, he is the director, the regional director for Ashoka in East Africa, where he's based right here in Kenya. He's responsible for growing transformative and collaborative networks of leading social entrepreneurs in the region, and also change leaders and institutions that are aligned to Ashoka's vision of everyone a change maker. And he's going to tell us more a bit about that. He has a cumulative work experience of over 10 years in different sectors, serving in several leadership roles at national, regional, and continental levels. And Vincent, as I've come to realize, is a very, very firm believer in transformative partnerships and collaborative impact as critical factors that can lead us to finding sustainable solutions and also to effecting systemic change and accelerating the movement towards a world where every single individual, especially every single African and organization, thinks and acts as a change maker. Guys, I'm not even exaggerating. This is a guy, you'll be talking to him and just randomly you'll hear the word change maker or the word, social entrepreneurship coming. He breathes it. It's in his bloodstream. He absolutely knows everything there is to know about this space. So we are in good company today. And before I hand over to him, I just want to make sure that everyone understands that we are not breaking the rules here. You may not see this, but there is a glass partition between the two of us, so we can't exchange any Rona, even if we had any. But we both look very, very healthy. But don't try this at home unless you have something like this. Stay healthy, stay safe, wear your masks. Everything here is super sanitized, double, triple sanitized. As is the best way to do this kind of conversation. But I just had to have him here with us. So, Vincent, karibu sana. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Gilbert. And it's an honor. You've done that introduction, and for a moment I was wondering, are you talking about me or are you talking about yourself? Because I think I rarely come across people who are really passionate about their work the way you are passionate about your work. Mm-hmm. And talking about social entrepreneurship, I think what you do, with your team, really is a very good example of what other people are doing out there, not knowing it. It's some kind of a social enterprise as well. So I also draw a lot of inspiration from the work that you do and your passion as well. So it's great to be in a great company also.
I'm truly humbled. Thank you, Vincent. So before we even dive deep into the matter, my first question is going to be, why are social entrepreneurs critical to the response and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic? But before you answer that question, can you just tell everyone who's watching, who is a social entrepreneur? What makes them different from other traditional or conventional entrepreneurs?
Good question. So who's a social entrepreneur? Most of the time, people look at I mean, because there's a word social and there is a word entrepreneur, most of the time, people tend to think about the social bit of it. So a lot of guys think it's basically any charity work out there. This is social entrepreneurship, but that's not the case. And then when you talk about entrepreneurship, people want to understand what exactly then distinguishes this from the traditional entrepreneurship. So at a very basic level, I would say social entrepreneurship is the kind of, running a venture in a way that you're thinking of social impact, but also applying, some kind of business modeling into it, the processes, kind of those systems for sustainability. But the key for social entrepreneurship is basically the impact, what kind of impact you want to bring about. Yeah.
That's very interesting because we are in a world that we're in the 21st century, and obviously Influence 21 is a series of conversations that are looking at the 21st century. We are at the end of 2020, or we are going towards the end of 2020, and that's we're about to finish 1/5 of the century, of the 20th century. And the 21st century was really focused on capitalistic entrepreneurship. So all the systems have been geared towards things that boost return on capital, not return on social gains. And now you're telling us that with social entrepreneurship, we are no longer just looking at traditional capital, we are also looking at social gains that go with that economic ecosystem. But now, why, in your view, is this so critical? Why are social entrepreneurs so critical, specifically in this context of COVID-19, not just in terms of response, which is what we are trying to grapple with now, but also in terms of recovery, once hopefully we get medicines and all these other elements we need to overcome the current crisis?
Good. So that question reminds me of an article I read a couple of weeks ago, probably late toward the end of last month, written by Mwalimu Musheshe. So Mwalimu Musheshe happens to be the first Ashoka fellow elected in East Africa. And he writes this on one of the Uganda dailies, and he talks about COVID-19, the way we've taken COVID-19. And he says COVID-19 is not, we're not supposed to just look at it as lamenting and complaining and kind of feeling helpless around it. And so he advises, he says, and he talks to Ugandans, but I think it applies to every one of us. He says, this is an opportunity for us to be more creative, to be entrepreneurial. So in interpreting your question, I think for me, that right there is the first reason why we need social entrepreneurs. Because what social entrepreneurs do is that they help us to understand how to change, a crisis or a challenge, look at opportunities there and tap into those opportunities to create, something different. Sort of while addressing whatever crisis that is, but also creating opportunities for other things. So I'd say that is one of the reasons why we need social entrepreneurs. That ability to think critically and very fast, with the kind of agility and adaptiveness that you would rarely find, say, in government or in the private sector. I think that is key. And then also, for response, but also going forward. And going forward, like I said, I mean, social entrepreneurship, you're thinking the impact. So you're thinking long term, just approaching it from like just direct service. You're thinking what sort of systemic change is needed.
Yes.
So we are seeing most of the social entrepreneurs who are trying to address this now. The immediate response is not just settling at that level, but there's also thinking around what is the root cause of these imbalances of power that probably is playing out now, inadequate resources, injustice, inequalities. So they're looking at those root causes. So that for me is the reason why we need social entrepreneurs. But then also there's something that I see a lot with social entrepreneurs, the Ashoka fellows in our network. This is something that they demonstrate on a day-to-day basis. You talk about me being very passionate about social entrepreneurship, talking about change making. You need to meet these men and women, because I absolutely believe these are the men and women that the world ought to rally behind, to support their innovations to scale. But what I see in them on a daily basis is basically modeling the kind of attitude, the skills that we need now and going forward. Because again, like you said, we live in a totally different world. It's a totally different setting. I mean, change is rapid.
Yeah.
We have all these kind of calamities, crises, so you need certain skills to navigate that, to thrive. So we say this. One is empathy-based living, for the common good, responding to things from that level. There is also a very, deep gap level understanding that you cannot do this alone. So you look for collaboration opportunities.
Yes.
So sort of like a different way of what do I call it? Of addressing issues. You're not just thinking just you. So you're looking at also other sectors, other people, other players. You kind of get to understand the entire ecosystem, and you know who else can you can work with.
Do you have some examples of social entrepreneurs who are doing this kind of collaboration? Yes,
I do. And I think we recently did a survey. There's some work on social business, that we started in Europe. I started in Europe. Then we did, some kind of survey in Africa just to get to understand whether there's appetite for that, whether it's happening.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. About 90% of social entrepreneurs are keen on working with, other sectors collaboratively. And, we have good examples of those kind of ventures. For instance, in Uganda, there is Joseph Nkandu, who's supporting the coffee farmers, sort of making it make business sense, coffee farming and all this.
Yes.
There is also Joko Kante in Senegal. Then there is our labs in South Africa. So they're quite a number.
Yes.
And so the one thing, and this is still going back to explaining the other skill that they have perfected, in terms of working with other people, teams of teams, as we call it. Kind of lost that trail of thought there.
Yes.
But then, so it's teams of teams looking at different ways of collaborating with other people, including businesses. No, I wanted to mention that surprisingly, in the survey, what we found out was that the barrier for both business people and social entrepreneurs to collaborate is finding people with the right mindset.
Okay.
And so that's why I was highlighting, this kind of mindset that we see on a day-to-day basis from the social entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So empathy-based living and teamwork, new way of organizing.
Yes.
So when you talk about new way of organizing or new leadership, is the kind of leadership that allows other people also to thrive. So it's not just about you as a lead, but you have this entire team, and everyone can bring their best.
Wow.
So because they model those kind of things, and because we see intuitively, they have a way of responding. They have a way of looking at issues, at crisis, and all this, and the challenges that keep on compounding. Because they have all this, then we need them now, especially, and even beyond.
So actually, I like that. So it's about the eye they have. It's about the perspective they have. That's what makes them different. And there's a word you've used that I think is really resonating with me: empathy-based living, whereby you look at the situation you're in and you are empathetic, and that spurs you into action to come up with this social enterprise, as opposed to saying, "Oh, I can make some quick money here." And run off into the sunset. I really like that, because I think the world needs more of that, and knowing that you can actually live like that and still make a living and still grow a business, a thriving business, is mind blowing. And from now, in terms of an Ashoka perspective, you talked about the research that you've done, and I would be interested in knowing how Ashoka is positioned to helping social entrepreneurs capitalize on your ecosystem as Ashoka, because social entrepreneurs have been hard hit, just like all other types of businesses, just like all other sectors. So in that respect, how is Ashoka approaching this? How is Ashoka working with social entrepreneurs? The great thing is you are already supporting many of them, connecting them, networking them, but I'm sure there are many people who don't know the work that you do. So maybe you can enlighten us on that.
Yeah. So for Ashoka, our primary focus, for the last 35 plus years has been in finding leading social entrepreneurs and supporting them to scale their innovation. And when we talk about leading social entrepreneurs, we're thinking social entrepreneurs who are not just focusing on direct service or indirect service. We're thinking we're looking at social entrepreneurs who are already thinking about changing systems, whether it's
wow.
at policy level, whether it's changing market dynamics, at that level.
Okay.
And so we have quite a bit of experience. You can imagine being in over 90 countries and about 3,500 and growing number of leading social entrepreneurs in our network. So we have a thing or two on how we can leverage that that network, that ecosystem to support social entrepreneurs. But in this particular scenario of COVID-19, we're running this initiative, we're calling it Changemaker United.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're looking at innovations that are responding to COVID-19 related disruptions, and also we are thinking beyond, the immediate response. How do we create more resilience, and kind of leadership, more social entrepreneurship thinking, like more entrepreneurial thinking, even going forward. Right?
Yeah.
So what we want to do, and this is an initiative that also kind of started off in Europe, and we're now getting started in Africa.
Yeah.
So we are looking at sourcing, for innovations that are responding to COVID-19, and we're putting together. It's an alliance that is growing. There's so many different partners who are interested in joining this and being part of this. So the idea here is to, of course, showcase those innovations, but also to kind of just create a new narrative around COVID-19. There's a lot of issues to do with the negative side of it. People are forgetting, like, there are other things that are coming off this that not necessarily just to address this now, but also for the future. Like correcting some of the systems.
Yes.
So that will be phase one. Just curating all these, getting all these innovators and finding ways to support them. It could be like peer to peer.
Yes.
The other people from the business side also are coming in. Strategic partners are also coming in to support them. Like I said, also when you think about social entrepreneurs, and the focus is on impact, right?
Yes.
But they also need to learn, a thing or two on how to really run sustainable businesses.
Yes.
And also how to kind of put their innovations in ways that it creates like win-win with the corporate world, right? So we have all these strategic partners also to support them in scaling the innovation and thinking their models further. Then there is also phase two of that, which is now really working with them sort of like hands-on sort of support, as they continue growing those innovations.
Fantastic. And so you talked about the fact that you work with leading social entrepreneurs, and I've been able to attend fantastic events that you organize as Ashoka together with other partners, the British Council and so forth. The last one was Impact Africa. And that's really the first time I smashed into this fantastic ecosystem, and I was amazed at this concept that could really be very relevant for Africa, because I think Africa, generally speaking, needs to think more empathy-based business. We need to think, business that doesn't leave so many people behind. And I enjoyed that. But what I did notice is that there is a huge chunk of social entrepreneurs that stay small scale. There are some that scale thanks to organizations like yours, but also there is a big number that really stay small scale. And I think many people, even some watching today, might be asking themselves, what can they do to break from that mold? Obviously, there is certainly a lot that can be done, but if you were to just give them some top line advice of what they can do to become businesses that are scalable, that can attract perhaps more investment, what would those tips be?
Good. So when you talk business, when the language goes into business, most of the time social entrepreneurs, like you get like the very traditional social entrepreneurs, those kind of just started when the whole sector was getting to be defined. They wonder, what are you talking about? What business? Again, within the social entrepreneurship. But what I would say also, because we learn also a lot of this from what our fellows are doing. One, it's all about focusing on impact. Like, what is that impact that you want to achieve? So staying on that course. It's staying on that course, because the more you think about the impact that you want to achieve, that's really help you also define, like kind of cement, and your thinking and all that. Then the second thing, back to what you're saying, Gilbert, in terms of business, and kind of just mentioning there how social entrepreneurs will be surprised, like you try to understand this. Social entrepreneurs ought not to shy away from figuring like some revenue generation streams for their ventures. You know that, and you shouldn't shy away from that. You know. And
do you find that they're a bit timid in terms of looking for a business case, a financial case for their ventures? Do you find that timidity in the ecosystem?
Yeah, so there is that. I mean, and a lot of it also is because either the opportunities are not there, they're not sufficient. I say they're not sufficient. Just also understanding, you know, how to navigate the different funding opportunities or capital opportunities. You know? Especially when you're thinking about those who are just starting up, kind of just not very sure, like where should I head and all this. So I would say focusing on impact, not being shy, you know, to figure out revenue streams, not just one, like several. And then of course thinking scale. What is your end game? And again, it doesn't have to be the typical thinking, like for you to scale, you have to set up another new mark, you know, somewhere, set up another new mark. You know, that way, you know, you can do it in different ways. So kind of just being open in different ways of scale, I would say those are some of the things that need to be in place. But of course, also there is a heavy dose of also passion. That's critical. So knowing, and this we do a lot of this at Ashoka. For one to become an Ashoka fellow, the process is quite intense. It's rigorous. And the one thing that I really like about that process, and also most of the fellows are really appreciative of this, is that it helps you get to know yourself as a change maker. Like, what is the passion? Why is this something that you can do when everything is down? Like, but you still want to stay the course, right? So when you find that in you, and then also you match this with technical skills. Sometimes you don't have the technical skills, but then this is where you start thinking the team. Right? But it's also important for you as a social entrepreneur to have some of these skills. Because even if you're going to have a team, but you still need to have some idea. So I think for me that is important, because that is where now you find, you know, you're able to put together the bolts and nuts. That is what makes things run. The passion will power the vision. That is what will take you. I mean, COVID, post-COVID, pre-COVID, you really want to do this. You have that impact. You have that end game in mind. But then put that together combine that with some skills. Combine that with a certain, aptitude.
Aptitude.
Right?
And so, guys, you are hearing the best of Social Entrepreneurship 101. This is a speaker. This is an expert who has been in the field for a long time. And I would say, take notes, type into the chat box, ask questions, put in your comments. And as we talk, I would like to do a couple of shout outs. I see Dorel Ndaisaba, welcome. I see Dr. Funcho Somorin, my good friend, welcome. I see Aziza. I see all of you who have tuned in, and we are very happy to have you. Peter Olo, thank you for signing in and for following Kinley as you put into the chat box. We are really having a very exciting conversation about social entrepreneurship. We are just about halfway in our program, so I would like you to start, sending any questions or comments. I'll read them out. I'll read out as many as I can see. I've seen some starting to come in, so please do participate actively. Tima from Capital Club, shout out to you as well. Capital Club is our very good partner in this conversation, and we hope that many of you at Capital Club are attending this because social entrepreneurship is indeed a very important topic. One I'm passionate about myself, and one which Vincent is also very passionate about. And I just want to now go into a slightly different aspect, but piggybacking on something you said. You talked about some of the things social entrepreneurs really need to have at the top of their minds. You talked about the fact that they need to have a business case for their social enterprise. You organize a number of events. I've just talked about Impact Africa, but there is also another event coming up. And I know that through these events, you really help upcoming social entrepreneurs. Can you just quickly share with our attendees what some of these events entail, what they offer? Because obviously those are some of the tools we can equip them with, and perhaps we'll find a way to email to everyone maybe some news or links so that they can click on to apply. But if you can just give us a quick highlight, that would be very helpful.
Good. So two things that I want to mention. The fact that Ashoka has been in existence for all this time, really helping define the space of social entrepreneurship since Bill Drayton started Ashoka. I mean, it gives the organization some kind of pedigree in terms of thought leadership and also convening power.
Correct.
So, but again, it doesn't just rest with the organization. There are so many other partners around in the ecosystem that we want to share with them, but also we want to learn with them. But of course, again, we believe absolutely that to really make this movement make sense, it has to be collaborative. We have to have like an ecosystemic approach. That's why we are very keen on partnering with like-minded partners. Like you made reference of Impact Africa Summit, which is like really our top summit, top convening in Africa, bringing together social entrepreneurs from across Africa to showcase, their innovations, for people to just have a feel, especially because with Impact Africa, we tend to also widen it, more so bring in policymakers, your typical, like unlikely allies, to just come and have a feel of what social entrepreneurship is all about, what kind of innovations that are they coming up with. And also just to understand the ecosystem, to look at ways for collaborative leadership and all that. But the one that you're referring to, the local one, the one that you're doing here in, with Tangaza University, this is annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship. And this one is the difference basically because this is we are positioning this at the intersection of academia and social entrepreneurship. It's absolutely important, especially in Africa, for us to invest with its time and ideas around researching for social entrepreneurship. Because probably, not even probably, already you can have a feel that what we consider social entrepreneurship and even the appetite for social entrepreneurship might be different here compared to other places. But the best institutions really to help surface these issues and kind of also help drive this the universities, the academia really playing a very important role. So the annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship is within that intersection, bringing the practitioners with academia. Are the academia teaching relevant stuff? Is this making sense in this context? So in a way, also providing an opportunity for cross-pollination of ideas from practice and also from academia. But of course, also it opens up for other, players, policymakers. It's important for them to be in the room to kind of get to listen, where they can support, and especially in Africa. I think this is something also that has been canvassed at the Impact Summit several times. The first one, 2 years ago, then last year. Policy and legal framework for social entrepreneurship, social enterprises. And I think it's one of the things that Social Enterprise Society of Kenya has really also been very much, at the forefront, pushing that, being able to put together an alliance that includes Ashoka to help define that space, to help provide much needed information and insights to address that. Because I think with that unlocked, then a lot of the barriers will definitely be kind of moved for the social entrepreneurs.
Fantastic. Academia, data, research, and social entrepreneurship. Those who are watching here who are interested in social entrepreneurship, in researching around social entrepreneurship, please look out for information about the African annual conference on social entrepreneurship. We are going to, we've kept your details from the registration portal. We are going to be sending any information that we can get from Ashoka and from organizers of the conference so that you can be in the loop. so that you can plan to attend. Personally, I think entrepreneurship tends to be spawned in universities, and research is part of that process. So I think it's powerful that you and the other partners are building this alliance to make sure that young people in universities and the academic sector are actually producing entrepreneurs who are thinking empathetically, who are thinking about solving big social problems. And who are thinking, go ahead.
No, because also I just wanted to, like, Impact Africa is also happening.
Yes.
And it's happening in Nigeria. So
same thing, yes.
Also been traveling. Last time in South Africa, then East Africa, now in West Africa, Nigeria. So
you heard it. You heard it here. I wish I could do one of those dramatic voices. I could pull off one of those things. You heard it here. Maybe not first, but if it's the first time, then I can say you heard it here first. We have 2 massive events around social entrepreneurship. Very interesting. Please look out for information around that. Impact Africa Summit and the Africa Annual Conference on Social Entrepreneurship. Both of them very important. And I would like now to, we've talked a lot about social entrepreneurs themselves, but I'm just really thinking about how, social entrepreneurship is fairly still small compared to, say, conventional entrepreneurship. And there are massive big brands that are trying also to solve big social problems. So I'm just wondering, how can social enterprises position themselves a bit more efficiently and effectively in order to be able to collaborate and have cross-sectoral partnerships with other stakeholders across, across different fields. They don't have to necessarily only collaborate with other social entrepreneurs. And you alluded to this, and perhaps you can give us a bit more insight on that.
Before I get to that question directly, also because it's based off insight, working with the Ashoka fellows, seeing what they do. It's around how they affect, system change, changing market dynamics, policy influencing, or rallying, around this movement, rallying other people around this movement, training other people directly, and all this kind of things. And also social business congress. So that is what you're talking about. So it's one of those ways, right? So what we are seeing, how do they position themselves? Because that's a question, right? So I think for this kind of collaboration to happen, taking into consideration all the other factors that I mentioned about social entrepreneurs, staying the focus on your impact, what you want to do, the kind of impact that you want to, bring about, and the entrepreneurial skills that you need to apply, the creativity, the innovativeness, and all that skill and all that. One, you have to think of what is it that is going to bring value to your partner, because it has to be structured in such a way that it is win-win.
Okay.
Right? And I'll ask our viewers, because then we have this really nice report on social and business collaboration, highlighting this about 7 fellows who are doing this kind of work of collaborating with businesses. And even though they are the different relationships, different geographies, there are quite some insights there, and I would recommend people to read that.
Is that something we can send to
yes,
our attendees?
We can send that. Right?
Okay.
It has some really powerful insights on how to structure some of these things, how to navigate where there's conflict, and to align, because these things happen.
Yes.
So the first thing is, structure something that is a win-win. Okay. You're looking at, if it's a business, what is their priority? What is their strategic direction? You understand their value chain. What is it that you're bringing? What value are you bringing to their value chain? Then you can have a conversation right there, right? And then the other thing is just stay on the mission. Most of the time, I know of a number of social entrepreneurs. I've had conversations with coffee, and I'm asking them, why is it that you're not getting into partnership with, say, business or even government? So government is, so they have, you would think like the reason would be same for both government and business. It's not. So for business, it's basically, but I will lose my mission. So this will corrupt everything that I'm about.
Okay.
But that's just not the case.
Yeah.
I mean, from what you're seeing with these examples that are in this report.
Yeah.
Because also businesses are keen, companies are now keen on moving away from traditional CSR to doing more sustainable kind of engagement, making sure that the common good, aspect is brought into, whatever they're doing.
Yes.
So that is, so just stay on your mission. You will find mission alignment. That's where you head. Right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, again, the end game. What is it that you want to see? That is very, very critical.
Very critical.
So those are some of the things that for social entrepreneurs, social enterprise is grounded on those kind of areas. And it is massive. There's just massive information in that report. I think, I highly recommend it. Even for companies who are really eager to, and again, when we did this research, we found I mentioned 90% of social entrepreneurs are eager to get into this kind of collaborations. But getting people of like-mindedness, whether that's a leadership level and all this, that's the only barrier. So I think if social entrepreneurs can focus on those key areas, the mission, you try to structure something like win-win. Let your partner also see you bringing value. Let them see the value. Then you're thinking, what is the end game? What is it that you want to see at the end of it all? You're very focused on that. Then the opportunities are there.
But social, that's good. Social entrepreneurs should actually be proactive about these opportunities for partnership. I remember that during Impact Africa Summit, there was a partnership between Coca-Cola and some social entrepreneurs around distribution. And that's very interesting. And perhaps some of these things are in that report, which I invite everyone to look at. We will send out an email to all those who have attended with a link to that report or an attachment, depending on what format it's in. Now,
and I just wanted also just to add something.
Yes, go ahead.
Because that particular one.
Yeah.
So the other thing is just ethical fiber around all these things, integrity around all these things. Because you will know which partners align to your values, all these kind of things. So that's just something else.
Yes.
And you should be very clear. What is it that you stand for? What is it that you're about?
Interesting.
So in addition to the mission, also you're thinking about integrity issues there, ethical fiber issues, and all this kind of stuff.
That is. If we had more time, I would want to dig deeper into that, because we all know that it's very critical for you to be aligned, but also for you to have, as he just said, the same ethical fabric, because ultimately that's what will see you through to the end. There is a question from Dorel. He asks, what are the most untackled sectors in terms of social entrepreneurship? What are some of the big gaps we see here in Kenya? Obviously, Africa as a whole still has many challenges in social sectors, underinvestment being one of them. But if you were to pick out some of those that require attention from either existing or aspiring social entrepreneurs, what sectors would those be?
So I would say, looking at just the trends within the patterns also within just our network and also what is happening outside. It seems there is a lot of focus on things that are touching on you. So whether you think about that like broadly, and then you start kind of piecing them. You think about education, like there's so much within that value chain that is broken. Right? People are talking about the system that is broken. Right now with COVID-19, we are seeing, with our health system. I mean, it's not something new, but it's not like government is not doing something, but you see there are gaps there.
There are gaps,
there's quite a bit of gaps there. And I would say also this, I mean, the fact that we're able to have these, with people from different parts, IT has become an integral part of living, right? And there's massive gaps there. So whether schools are thinking we need to do more of online learning right now, but how many people, so there's I would say there is a lot around access to service and goods broadly. So many, because just the systems, the way the systems are, and the systems are not just broken because of people not doing their work or anything like that. I mean, one, it's just the ability to respond to some of these things with the agility and sort of aggressiveness and innovativeness that social entrepreneurs do. Lacks in government. Also in the private sector. Private sector sometimes is just they silo and they're not able to, they don't see what else is happening. The traditional mindset of the bottom line, the business of business is profit, right? I would also say, so everything access to service. Then there are also gaps around policies. And when I say policies, and maybe there's a social entrepreneur out there who will be thinking, but how does a social entrepreneur come into policy issues? And I want to give an example of Anjogu, who's an Ashoka fellow. I mean, spearheaded what then, eventually became the sexual offences, big act right now. So kind of addressing the whole issues of gender violence. And that is social entrepreneurship as well, right? And I would say, so I'd mention those. I think everything, market access to goods, how do you create opportunity where opportunities didn't exist? That's something else that they should be looking at. How do you create value where value didn't exist, right? And how do you create opportunities for income for those at the bottom of the pyramid? There are so many people who are marginalized. So many, the gap between the have and the have not. I mean, whichever way someone looks at it, I think it's so wide. So so there's just a lot there. I mean, and the way to look at it also, to really also get to understand these gaps, is going back to looking at what I was mentioning in terms of the change maker skills, those kind of things. Like when you think about empathy, I mean, what service? It's an antidote for lack of love and compassion in the world, right? So are there services or goods that can address that? Okay. So when you think about new leadership, it's just a new way of organizing where everyone feels their part and parcel of decision making and action. That's an antidote for consolidated leadership or the kind of leadership that we don't want to see. We want more collaborative leadership and that. Inadequate resources, whichever way you look at it. Is it talent? Is it skills? Is it funds and all this? How do you address that? Through collaboration. So the teams of teams, the teamwork, is an antidote for that kind of hoarding of resources and stuff like that. So there are different ways to look at it and to spot, from, I mean, you can pinpoint the sector. But then I also feel, I mean, from, working with all these Ashoka fellows, their perspective, the lenses they wear to really get to know where is the problem and what system need to be addressed. Using that.
I like that. And I think that's at the core of it. Because this is a relevant question that maybe someone who's interested in becoming a social entrepreneur might be asking themselves. But I would even put it back to them and tell them, can you start adjusting your lens, the lens with which you are looking at different sectors? Social sectors, they are known. We have health, we have agriculture, we have education, and so forth. So the lens with which you're looking at these sectors then becomes very important. The interesting thing is the beneficiaries or even the customers for a social entrepreneur might not necessarily be in the social circle of the entrepreneur. Your typical entrepreneur might be a middle class or upper class person. They don't deal with the problem that the bottom of the pyramid person deals with. So they actually have to change their lens, go down to the level of the person who's dealing with the problem, maybe look at it from that perspective. I think that's really what I'm getting from you, because it's a clarion call that going forward, anyone who wants to go into entrepreneurship, I meet so many young people, not just young people. I think entrepreneurship is something that many people wish to get into for different reasons. But social entrepreneurship makes so much sense in Africa because the bottom of the pyramid is huge. And so that means that the potential market relevance for an entrepreneur, a budding entrepreneur, is huge. But that also means that entrepreneur has to change their lens, the lens with which they're looking at sectors and so forth. So good question, Dorel. Really, really appreciate it. we are
Yeah.
almost running out of time, but
Okay.
please go ahead.
Yeah, I like just what you just say there in terms of putting yourself, like really understanding your target or your beneficiaries.
Yes.
So that is also one, and also because what we're trying to get, what we see social entrepreneurs within our network, what they're trying to effect is system level change.
Yes.
So for any social entrepreneur out there, don't be like, challenge yourself. So you think direct service, move from direct service to indirect service, that kind of thing. But settle at system change. Like your focus should be there, because then, so that at the very beginning, while you're understanding your target, you're also trying to understand what is the root cause of this problem. What is the root cause of this challenge? So that means then also having numerous conversations with that ecosystem. If you talk about agriculture, what is it? If you talk about health sector, education. So going down to those kind of nitty-gritties about the system, so that then where exactly do you need to hit? Do you need to address this at, so that then the entire system changes? There's a new mindset, around it, new way of doing things. Like you revolutionize it. And I like this because it's, the way we say, don't teach people how to fish. Yeah. No, don't give people fish.
Teach them how to fish. Yes.
But this later on, the founder of Ashoka goes further and says, and this is the thinking around Ashoka, don't teach people how to fish, teach them how to revolutionize the fishing industry. The fishing industry. So that's
interesting.
So social entrepreneurs should be thinking, how do they change the system? Because it's the systems that are not working. And governments, businesses, companies, multinationals, they're familiar with that system. So it works for them. And also probably they don't have what it takes to address the challenges that, their activities, their actions on occasion. So it's a rallying call, like you said, to social entrepreneurs to wear different sort of lenses.
Lovely, lovely. We have another question from Bella. It's a big question. He's asking what could be the impact of the African Continental Free Trade Area on social entrepreneurship, and how can social entrepreneurs tap into these huge market? The AFCFTA is the most, I would say, one of the most ambitious, if not historically the most ambitious trade project by the African Union heads of state. And it's now entered into force. We now have a secretariat which is headed and based in Ghana, and it's on course to being implemented. But like most big initiatives, sections of the economy can be left behind. So this question is very relevant. How can we make sure that social entrepreneurs tap into this market and that they are not left behind? If I would think off the top of my head that it could open up opportunities for participation in a bigger market, partnerships, cross-border partnerships. But I'm sure from your perspective, you can see some of the opportunities with a better vantage point.
I'll just reinforce the same. And also just add that for this, the one thing that has been missing, and again not by design, is when you think about social entrepreneurs and then you're thinking about social enterprises, sometimes there's a bit of confusion. Right?
Yes.
Like, are you thinking the entity, are you thinking the person?
Yes.
About this, right? But it's a huge opportunity. One, if all the trade barriers are down and all this, so that's a huge opportunity for those who are in either service or goods, and so that's a huge opportunity, bigger market, wider market, and all that. But also just an opportunity for cross-geographical collaborations, around different enterprises, right? And also, I think it is what we need to not only break silos between countries, but also between sectors. Because there could be an enterprise, say in Tanzania, that is very adept at doing something that we don't have here. So that's an opportunity, and it maybe whatever we have is operating in a different sector, like those kind of opportunities. So it's huge. But I would say there's need to, either social entrepreneurs will have to project their voices more into these kind of conversations, because I think a lot of it is happening, and it's focusing on medium and small enterprises,
yes.
And then social entrepreneurs, I think, probably were not part of this unless someone is, in a huge way, really seeing their enterprise as their social entrepreneurs who are dealing in service and good, and there's just a way that it connects very easily. It doesn't blur the boundaries between traditional business and social entrepreneurship. Those are the only ones who are speaking. But I think there should be, social entrepreneurs should project their voices more. They should be like spearheading some of these conversations. Right?
Should we start insisting that they be part of the conversation, that they be invited at those critical meetings? Perhaps maybe the next Impact Africa Summit, or the next Africa Annual Congress or Conference on Social Entrepreneurship should start insisting and calling on government to start considering the voice of social entrepreneurs, because from what I'm hearing, that drive that social entrepreneurs have to effect systemic change, for me, is the big clincher. It's a huge opportunity, particularly in the broader Pan-African markets, which is hopefully going to actually get actualized. We shouldn't be left out as social entrepreneurs, and I'm saying we because now, I'm like, hey, this is cool. I need to jump in there. So we seem to be out of time. We have a couple of minutes. I'll ask for the indulgence of participants to do maybe 2-3 minutes more. It's a Friday night. Those of you who are doing a home partying, you can give us just a couple of extra minutes, just to hearing some parting shots from Vincent. But before I do that, I just want to thank everyone. Those of you who joined after we started, I had mentioned to you, I had mentioned that we are doing this safely. It may look like there is no social distancing, but there is this glass partition between us. And those of you who want to have similar conversations, there are very fantastic artisans in your city, near you, who can make you some very nice partitions. Support them. Call your fundi today and tell him that tell or her that you need some very clean looking partitions that you can use in your offices, or if you have a need for face-to-face events. In fact, I would call upon restaurant owners to give this a try, because this will be a boost for the confidence people have in their businesses. Keep safe. But now, before we close, I would like to just ask Vincent to share with those who have kindly joined us some nuggets of gold, a few top points that he thinks those who want to be in entrepreneurship, or those who are already in it, should go away with. And then, we should bring this to a close. Yeah, yes. Vincent.
Yeah, thank you. But so the first thing that I would want to say is there is a huge appetite for social entrepreneurship. And this is not just because we have all these challenges and that need innovative solutions with driven by people who are entrepreneurial, but also because we're seeing traditional business, like the way of doing business, is also changing. Big corporates are appreciating more and more the need to think long-term. They need to think beyond just the shareholders to stakeholders. So there is that. So that tells you the environment is really ripe. I mean, everything is set, within the environment for social entrepreneurship. So anyone who wants to take a stab at that, I think that should be an encouragement. The environment is good. But also, even though the environment is set up, all the different elements are in place, I think there's also some elements that are missing. There's still some work to be done. Fundamentally, policy and legal framework, I think people with the legal background will tell you there's a distinction between the two, policy and legal framework. But that is something that ought to be addressed urgently. And I think I alluded to this at some point. The umbrella bodies that represent social entrepreneurs, I think, should really be at the forefront. And the social entrepreneurs themselves shouldn't be finding it hard to organize, themselves around this whole issue of having a legal and policy framework to just it will help bring some barriers and open opportunities, and also just kind of bring a sense of there's a lot of fragmentation. Kind of just bring a sense of sanity, quote unquote, into the sector. Then also there is a huge challenge for institutions of higher learning, the universities. Social entrepreneurship is relatively new, compared to other sectors. There is a reason why it's picking up, different continents and even here. But there's a lot that needs to be dissected about this field, contextualized, for Africa. So I'd say universities also need to pick up this as a challenge, pick up the challenge and be the leaders that we want them to, that they have always been, in helping us, understand trends and where we are heading and patterns and all that. So research, heavy investment in research is very critical. And I think this is also where partners really want to put their resources, and resources here, it does not necessarily mean only funding, but also, thought leadership, around the different thematic areas, the areas that we are seeing at the next frontiers of growth for Africa. I think we need more strategic partners supporting social entrepreneurs, and also this kind of work that Newmark is doing. I think it's really, really critical, Gilbert. The media really need to highlight some of these stories. Not some, the stories that are coming out, especially now, like we're saying with COVID. We look at all the disruption, the negativity, I would say. But the innovations that are coming out, they are so amazing, so inspiring. And I would even want to mention, like, we have in our network, I'm seeing a lot of young people who are stepping up to be counted around this time. And that's because they're already seeing there is a problem, there's a challenge here. There's need to distribute food to, the people who are not able to do this. There's need to produce masks for those who are not able to, like, and masks and stuff like that. And applying some entrepreneurial thinking, some creativity. So I think, again, that is also where we need to have more people coming in to invest their resources in.
Wow. I told you guys that you are in it for a treat. And definitely I've enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you've also enjoyed it. You've all stayed, you've been active, and I see Irene Mutumba says that indeed there are challenges, but also these challenges are in themselves opportunities. Thank you, Irene. Thank you all for joining us today. We are very happy to have so many of you finding the time. We are going to be recording. We are recording this, and we are going to be uploading this as soon as possible. And we'll send out an email with a link to this video. You can share it with your friends and encourage them to be change makers, to be system shapers, because at the end of the day, this generation will be asked by the next one, what did you do to guarantee our own well-being? So good evening, everyone. Enjoy your weekend, and thank you again for joining us today. Ciao.